Hello and welcome to today's episode of Life is a Piano. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm happy to be sitting down with New York-based contemporary classical pianist Erika Dohi. She has worked with such contemporary classical composers as Andy Akiho and William Brittelle, but she also has collaborated with a variety of jazz artists, including Ambrose Akinmusire and Immanuel Wilkins. She also plays in a duo called Righteous Girls, and that's actually how I met her. I performed at the Bang on a Can Summer Music Festival, and she was also there supporting her friend and collaborator, Gina Izzo, who was in my ensemble. Since then, I've been keeping tabs on what she's been doing, and it's all awesome stuff. So happy I got a chance to chat with her and learn more about her upbringing, her work in the New York scene, and just who she is as a person. If you like today's episode and you want to contribute to my podcasting efforts, you can head on over to patreon.com/Dutcher Snedeker. There, you can contribute at different tier levels to get early access to podcast episodes, exclusive merch, and more. You can also head to DutcherSnedeker.com to see everything else that I'm currently up to around the internet. Thanks again, and feel free to like, comment, subscribe, any way that you happen to be interacting, whether it's on YouTube or Spotify or Apple Podcasts. All of those metrics help me and these podcasts just as much. All right, let's get right into it with Erika Dohi. Why is this thing that was talking to another thing, now it's not working? But
yeah.
But yeah, thanks for carving out some time and coming on this podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And also, you might hear ice cream truck. I don't know if you hear it, but it's going on right outside of my door. Yeah, it's going on for a while. The ice cream.
I actually heard one the other day, and I forgot, like, those, like, just because of the being at home and in the pandemic, I'm like, oh yeah, ice cream trucks. They just drive around, look, be like, hey kids, want some ice cream? Like, just getting used to like things out in the world again.
Here on Broadway, I'm between Riverside and Broadway, but yeah, in summer, that's the soundtrack of my apartment. It's always going on.
Yeah, and I don't know if, surprisingly, with my neighborhood, I think the ice cream trucks avoid it because we have an ice cream place that's within walking distance from the neighborhood, and it's always got lines that are like, everyone wants ice cream suddenly at 8 p.m. or something.
I see.
But,
this place is it's near the park. I think that's why it's always on.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, how have things been? I'm trying to think. I think the last time I saw you might have been in Massachusetts. I don't know if what has happened since Bang on a Can 2016, but I'm sure lots of things.
Yes. A lot happened. Just 2020 was big, right, for everybody. So what can we say? It's been a long time. You're right. I think the last time was at Massamoka.
Yeah. And were you, I guess, in the immediate recent year, did you, I'm assuming lots of gigs got canceled or moved or just chaos, but how was last year being in a place like New York where it's I joke that it's like, oh yeah, for twice my rent here I could live in a closet or something.
Yeah, totally. Well, so I kind of personal, but I moved back to New York in January 2020.
Okay.
I got married and I moved to Texas. Well, I was doing like a back and forth. So I kept my apartment here, but then we got separated and I permanently moved back to New York in January 2020.
Wow.
So I was ready to kind of, keep myself grounded here. And when I moved, I got rid of my private students, and I was, I was only focusing on freelance work. And so I was trying to kind of get myself work again. And then COVID happened. So it was a double punch for sure.
Yeah. To like have
Yeah.
to like get your life set up in one area and then be like, well, actually, just get it. It reminds me of when I thought I was going to go to the New England Conservatory for my master's because I had gotten in, but it wasn't going to happen financially, and I was trying to make it work, and I was like visiting the city and like being like, okay, yeah, I have roommates that I could move in with, I have students that I could get through this program I just got accepted into, and
Mm,
then I just told everyone in my hometown like, I'm going to Boston, here I go, the adventure, and then I'm like, I don't really have the money, or I don't want like my education to be like a resentful thing for anyone in my life. I don't want my parents to be like, hey, we paid for your school, do something. So I ended up staying, and I got that following year, I got an offer to go to Western Michigan University. So I was like, oh, that's good. I waited and got money that stretched a little bit further for education, and
mm.
yeah.
So that worked out in the end
Yeah.
for you. Yeah, that's good. Sometime, yeah, you just have to wait it out, I guess. Yeah, I mean, I feel like, yeah, it's been a year of patience, you know. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I was at a rock bottom.
Yeah.
But I feel like I feel like a lot of people were. And I mean, in a way, yeah, at the beginning it was hard, but I got a hang of it too. I got my own routine. Um, yeah, it's yeah, I feel like I'm stronger.
That's good.
um, yeah, mentally and physically. I've been just doing a lot of yoga and have done a lot of meditation. That's just really was really rooted in my lifestyle. So that really helped me. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was crazy to move back to the city, and then that city kind of basically disappeared. Everyone was moving out, and
Yeah.
there were no work. And I mean, I was doing a lot of things online and recording, and I kind of got myself busy. But
Mhm.
still, yeah, it's yeah, it was an interesting time.
Yeah, I think most people assumed, rightfully so, like, touring was shut down, a lot of venues were closed. There was a little bit of like a break period. I feel like that first month where we're like, of March, April is like, okay, what's going to happen? Can I plan for anything out in the summer? Is it just should I just cancel everything right now? Like, what's going on? And then as soon as it was a little more clear of like, all right, this year, not going to be playing as many shows, if any at all, what other skills should I focus on? And I did a lot of similar things of, remote recording. I just started, doing like $20 album reviews for friends who were putting out records to nothing. And I'm like, yeah, hey, I need some gas money or like food money. And you need an album review. So I was doing some of that. And yeah, I definitely agree that I feel mentally way more stronger from just like having to process the last few months. It reminded me of like coming out of music school and being like, okay, well, I don't think I'll ever get beaten up as much as I did in music school. So
Yeah.
I feel like I can, yeah, do a lot more now that things are opening back up in some capacity, and certain area. I don't know how fully open New York is now. I know around here in Grand Rapids, Michigan, we just got I think this week is, no masks needed ever, apparently. So
Wow.
employers and employees of businesses can still choose to like wear it, but there cannot be well, I guess you can as a private business, but you know it's like all the signage changed from, hey, wear a mask, to wear a mask if you're vaccinated, and now it's like, wear a mask if you want.
Yeah,
It's
things are
so
vague.
weird.
I mean, it's almost not helpful if it's that vague, I mean, New
Mhm.
York is yeah, mostly open, and um I mean, now I think it's full capacity, and then now even clubs are open. I hear, and I think the venues are quickly opening up and booking shows, I think. And yeah, I mean, when you walk around, you see people with mask and no mask. So yeah, it kind of depends, I think. But inside though, I think you still have to wear a mask on subways. Everything
Mhm.
to me is a little vague, but then I'm on a safe side and I try to wear a mask inside, definitely, for sure.
Yeah, I can imagine with like, 10 times as many people. it's it's a lot of like just being aware of like, okay, I know I'm gonna be, half hour subway ride or however long. I don't know. I've taken the subway twice, but
Oh, really?
um but yeah, just like, having to plan for those public spaces, and then knowing like, okay, I eventually I'll get to this room where there's 15 people and I'll feel a little more comfortable.
Mm. Yeah, I just did a workshop with a theater company called Bota in Brooklyn, and for that, we had 10 people in the room, and then yeah, I mean, we had strict COVID restrictions. So like we had to get a test before, and everyone had to get vaccinated, and then if you're not singing, you have to wear a mask at all times. So, and then during that period, New York became the city with 70% vaccination. So
Mm.
um yeah, so then city really all of a sudden opened up, and then we were kind of like, okay, what do we do, but still, I mean, we wore masks, but then yeah, that was interesting, that change. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you done any, since things are more open, have you done any like public shows and just seeing like how crowds are? I mean, for all that I've seen, like with, wedding gigs and random outdoor shows, it seems like a lot of people are like hungry for entertainment again, and they're kind of flocking to these spaces. But it also depends on which spaces are even still, like, some, are still struggling with payments, or trying to hire staff, or any of those things, keeping venues still either closed or partially open. I don't know.
Hmm.
I'm sure with New York, it's like there's a million things stacked on top of each other. So it's like, oh, you go see a show at, what's his name? Emmett, the jazz pianist, Emmett Cohen.
Cohen, yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, like all his, like, he just turned his house into a venue essentially. And
Right, yeah, I've seen his stream. Yeah.
yeah.
Actually, so I went to Smalls a few weeks ago,
Mm.
the jazz club,
Yeah, yeah.
and then yeah, it was still a few weeks ago, so they were open, but then it was a limited capacity.
Mm.
So usually Smalls is a place where you can go and kind of stay all night, and people come in for jam session, and the place is packed
Yeah.
usually. But that wasn't the case for the last time I was there. It was everyone was seated and spaced out, and then for 7 o'clock set and then 9 o'clock set, between those sets you need to leave. Like they gotta clear the venue. So then,
Wow.
so it was more strict and everything. And I mean, I felt like it's not the same, but still, it was nice to really, it was really nice to hear live music. And and then the guys are really amazing. So
Yeah, it's that like reminder of like I don't know. Like I went and saw some friends playing, and it was just super casual, just like, oh, they're hanging out over there. And then it that moment kicked in my head of like, oh yeah, this used to be like just a regular thing, and I haven't done this in like a year.
yeah, right. um and I haven't performed in New York City yet, but I did a concert in Ohio, Mansfield, Ohio, also a few weeks ago. And then that was their first concert in a long time. And it was also social distance audience, so it was spread out, and everyone had masks, and I had a mask on. And it was beautiful because it was just nothing like playing for the audience, right? And they were standing ovation at the end.
Wow.
And it was just really sweet. Yeah.
You're like, I
Yeah.
missed you all of you, even though I don't know you.
Yeah. 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 So it was special for sure.
Yeah. Did you were you involved in any like streams, or was last year just kind of like, I'm not gonna mess with that, just focus on me? Or
Um, I did some streaming, but not so much live. Most of the stuff I did was pre-recorded video. And
okay.
then one stream I did was in DC. I did it at the recording studio.
Hmm.
So that was live. But rest of it was mostly pre-recorded videos and audio.
That's good. At least there's like, it equipment. I feel like a lot of people around here got better at a basic home recording and streaming setup. A lot of people were like, oh, my phone, and then they're like, wait, this kind of sucks. What else do I do?
I know. It's like all of a sudden everyone has to know how to record themselves. It's just ridiculous. I mean, the first thing I did was to invest on microphones. I mean, I have, fortunately, I have a piano at my place,
That's good.
and it's a grand piano too. So first thing, that's what I had to do. I got a microphones, but and then but recording is another thing, and it's a whole art to that, right? So you have to know what you're doing with that too. But I took a music technology class when I was in high school. um I was in Purcell School of Music in England, but
Oh,
they had
okay.
this program called music technology, and then I studied a bit of that, so that came really handy for sure. Just cause just having a little knowledge it kind of went a long way.
Yeah, I felt like super smart in comparison to like most of my friends, because I had played around with streaming. Like I basically had to run my own uh stream for my my senior recital for my undergrad. So I
Mm.
I really had to like, okay, I have this interface. How do I use mics? What program do I use to stream it? How do and even before that, I just playing video games here and there and seeing like, oh, they have a built-in streaming thing, but I see all these other people doing something different. How do I, you know, like capture video and like run it into a software and broadcast it? So
Hmm.
um it it was it felt good to like that I wasn't totally in the dark, but there were definitely some learning curves of like, I'm still getting used to like lighting myself properly. Like right now, it's just this one light over here, but just
Yeah,
playing around with it all.
yeah, it's hard, but yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, but a little bit of the knowledge and a little bit of like doing all that stuff, I think will go a long way. Even, you know, world opens back up, I feel like they're gonna be things that will continue it, you know,
Hmm.
and that kind of skill set is not gonna go to waste.
Yeah. Well, and to hear like you mentioned that you had a music tech class in high school, like that's I feel like that's huge. Like there's a spot in Grand Rapids, the was it WMCAT is the acronym, but West Michigan Center for Arts and Technology.
Mm-hmm.
And I I recently did a video with someone who teaches there, and he was telling me that because of, you know, partially because of COVID, partially because of the trend of, you know, people trying to, you know, take money from arts and put it into another thing. Um, that WMCAT is like supplementing a lot of schools' music programs by, you know, they what used to be like, oh, there's a band program, an orchestra program, or like a little bit of a music tech program. Um, a lot of schools, like I feel like a lot of middle schools and elementary schools kind of just did away with them, and then now WMCAT is supplementing a year's what's supposed to be a year. Now it's like, you know, a 2-week program. And
Oh wow.
I'm like, the 2-week program would be sweet in addition to, you know, a school year, but to have like someone who was used to, you know, playing an instrument most days in school, now it's, you know, at home or through this 2-week program. So yeah, it's good that you said you went to Purcell School in England.
Yeah, yeah,
Sure, that was a trip.
yeah, like the composer Purcell, Henry Purcell.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a, I mean, it's a pretty well-known music school in England. It's one of the three boarding school
hmm,
that people go to. Um, yeah.
cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
are you looking, or I assume you're looking forward to stuff, but do you have any fun projects on the horizon that are like you're like, oh, now that everything's opening up again, I can, I don't know, do this crazy piece with an orchestra. I don't know. You do so many things.
Yeah, I have a few projects that I'm excited about. You know Gina from Mass Mocha and Bang on a Can, right?
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
so our duo, Righteous Girls, we are in the process of recording the second album. We had commissioned Daniel Wall, and he has written a piece. It's been a little bit, and then it's been overdue for us to record it, but
Hmm.
um, yeah, because of COVID, we kind of had to postpone that a little bit.
Push things.
But
Yeah.
now we can really get on it, and yeah, so that's one I'm really excited about. The music is really good. It's really beautiful what he wrote for us, and things that he arranged for us. So yeah, that's really I'm excited about. And I mean, six piano band called Grand Band.
6 pianos.
Yeah, yeah. So we are just really doing a lot of brainstorming on how to, you know, uh, what to do for this season, and then yeah, hopefully we're gonna be releasing also an album from the live recording we did from Montclair almost a year and a half ago.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, that would be fun, and hopefully that would, you know, lead us to be able to perform. Um,
Right.
yeah, and then let's see. Yeah, I mean, a lot of things are right now up in the air for me, and I'm booking shows for touring for my album that just came out.
Oh,
And
right.
then Yeah, it just came out in May, and then I wasn't really like booking things yet, and because I didn't know how quickly the world was gonna open up. But yeah, just planning on a big release in the fall, with the help of Metropolis Ensemble.
Mm.
So yeah, it's still in the planning, but then yeah, I'm definitely excited about that, and hopefully I can tour with that. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, definitely a lot of like varied and fun projects. I'm curious.
Yeah.
Here's with the six. So is it six piano? Like you need six grand pianos, or is it six keyboards?
Yeah, well, what we've done, yeah, only for six pianos, but I'm the newest member, and then before I was playing with them, Vicky Chow was playing,
Hmm.
and uh, back then they did a show too with keyboard, I believe. So yeah, I mean we are flexible in that term, but then so far what I've done has been only six pianos, like grand pianos, and I mean that involves a lot of money and everything, but
Space.
so far like a big concerts, yeah. But yeah, I mean we'll see. I mean we're pretty flexible, I think. For we don't mind the upright piano if we have to, and yeah, I think we would do things with keyboard too. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it a because the only experience I've had with a bunch of pianos on a stage, sometimes, and they haven't done it, or I haven't seen a concert performed in years of it. But there used to be people who would do an 8 piano concert, and it was like a lot of it was just like stretching arrangements across the 8 pianos of like familiar music or popular classical things. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I imagine it's, I guess it would be, if you guys do use keyboards sometimes, you'd have to program something different, like, oh, we don't need the pieces with all the weird extended techniques, or this type of thing you need a grand piano for, so we'll do the thing that fits the keyboards. But I guess you're also a new member, so I don't know how much you know about how things work.
Yeah, no, yeah, totally. I mean, it's tricky. And then yeah, so like one piece, Missy Mazzoli wrote us a piece, and that involves a lot of inside piano and a lot of the resonance of the piano. So we haven't performed that on keyboard, and I'm not sure how that's gonna work out. Um, but yeah, and then we performed Julius Eastman as
Hmm.
well a few times, and yeah, just the whole scale of like there's one part where we are playing a hymn of the forgot the name of the hymn though. And it just really gets huge, and everyone's playing like fortissimo, and it just builds, and then there's nothing like six pianists playing six Steinway D.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
in a concert hall. So that is not, you can't recreate that on a keyboard. So yeah, that's the only thing. That's, I would say, that kind of grand scale of things we can only replicate on piano.
Yeah. I've always been, interested in trying to form, I don't know about forming a group, actually. That sounds a lot of logistics, but being involved in that kind of setting, because I remember going to Blue Lake Fine Arts Camp, and they would always emphasize, um, multiple ensemble, like, oh, two pianos, each, each piano's got two players, or like, two piano setup. Um, and yeah, I haven't really gotten to do that since, I think I did it once in my undergrad, but yeah, multiple pianos, orchestrating big
Yeah,
things.
yeah. I would say the first time I played, the most challenging thing was, sometimes you like study score and then you learn about, everyone's part, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then so when to come in, like when how to, I don't know, like you understand about the whole structure. But with 6 pianos, you don't know who's playing what sometimes. So that can get a little tricky. I just remember that.
You're just
Like,
sitting there
oh wait,
like,
yeah, it all sounds like piano to me. So like I would write like, okay, Lisa Moore plays this, and like but then I don't know who's playing. Like
yeah.
which one is Lisa? That kind of stuff. Yeah.
You're just
So
sitting there like, it's like, all right, 30 measures of rest. 1, 2, 3.
yeah,
Just hoping you
exactly.
get the cue and
Exactly, yeah. So I mean, we do a lot of visual cues, so that really helps. But yeah, I just remember practicing with the recording, and I was like, God, I don't know where, like what's what. Yeah, it's
yeah.
not like you hear the violin and clarinet and stuff. It's just very different. So yeah.
Yeah, having 6 of the same instrument and everyone just firing on all cylinders, you're just like, all right, someone just like shoot a flare when it's close, so it's something
Yeah,
really noticeable.
yeah. But yeah, no, that's fun though. It's a really fun project.
Yeah. So are most of your gigs these type of creative endeavors, or are you also like, sitting in the corner at some bar sometimes playing cocktail music?
Um, I would love to do that stuff, but I haven't done that much for some reason. Yeah, I never really had like a good luck, or I never really, like fall through with those gigs. I
Right.
feel like, and I'm not sure how much of those gigs exist in New York, especially like used to be. There were a period when I was like sophomore or something. I looked for piano bars everywhere
Hmm.
in the city. And then, yeah, just to kind of get better at, I don't know, playing jazz or something, because it's like a um, low pressure gigs and you can kind of practice and perform, and it's background music. But yeah, I really looked, but there isn't that many places with piano anymore.
Hmm.
I think a lot of bars got rid of piano, and just now it's just recording or DJ or something. So yeah, I mean, I know there are jazz clubs still, but then those are for like it's like for like real jazz people.
The Benny
And
Benacks of the world,
yeah,
and
exactly. Yeah, yep.
yeah,
So
I
yeah, I
saw.
mean, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say, like, I feel like I see him so often on my Instagram feed just because he's hosting a million, or like, he was playing trumpet with that like zipper mask, and I'm like, this guy's just everywhere. Like he's the
Oh
only one
yeah.
gigging in New York right now.
Yeah, I do see his name all the time. Yeah, yeah, totally. Yeah, he's killing it. And so is Emmett. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're both, yeah, really great.
Yeah, that's interesting though, because I feel like, pianists were kind of, we were the first DJs in a sense. Like we could just call off like a million tunes that people wanted to hear, and as long as there was a piano, it's like, oh, we could do a 3-hour thing or 2 hours, or um
Sorry.
yeah, but to like not have uh like I'm so used to having like in between all the creative fun gigs, I get, the gig at a wedding playing dinner music or something, and
Mhm.
it's like, oh, let me try out that lick that I transcribed or something.
Mhm.
But yeah, I guess with New York, it's like with any genre, it's like, oh, you have, someone who's internationally acclaimed at the genre and they get the gig.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and then there are many, many amazing jazz musicians in the city, and they're hustling. So, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a competitive place.
Right. Well, and I guess because I mainly know you as like a contemporary classical, I guess, umbrella term, because there's so many, yeah, you could be,
Definitely.
you know, as specific or general as you want with that term. But do you have, I mean, I know you've worked with jazz musicians. Do you
Mhm.
have like a mixed background in classical and jazz, or is jazz like something that's no?
Um, yeah, no, I've been really fortunate to work with amazing jazz musicians, but then I would not call myself a jazz musician. Yeah, I would not. Yeah, I improvise in my own style.
Yeah.
I love jazz, listening to jazz. If I play a standard, it's gonna sound, I don't know, like me, like it's
Hmm.
not gonna sound like, I don't know, I don't want to really name anybody, but yeah, like a jazz pianist, like a typical jazz pianist. Yeah, I mean, I respect it, and I would like to be able to play, bebop and stuff, but I can't. Just straight up, I cannot. Yeah, it's so hard, and I'm not gonna fake it. I can't fake it. So, but I will keep working on that, and that's gonna be my life goal, I guess.
Yeah.
One day I'm gonna kill it on bebop tunes.
Yeah. One day I'm gonna play that killing solo. Someone's gonna say I'm killing, and then I can check off.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. It's very hard. Very, very awesome though. I respect, people that can play.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like the contemporary chamber world and the jazz world, they kind of they seek each other out with like, oh, I don't get to do this type of, arrangement or, vocabulary. Mr. Jazz musician, go over here. Or like, oh, I don't get to improvise that often as a classical player. I'll do this cool, the aleatoric thing or whatever.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. Yeah, I love that. I love that. Um, Especially in New York, there's a lot of, well, yeah, yeah. There is a lot of fusion, and I wouldn't say fusion, I guess, but then there's intertwined, you know, underground scene where, yeah, you kind of get to do both, and that then they don't really care if you're playing like a weird things on the standard, right? And they don't really play standards in those things, anyways, and yeah, so.
Yeah. Well, and I I feel like um just the idea that people are thinking of what am I trying to say, with jazz and contemporary classical, I guess, as umbrella terms. I guess I
Mhm.
mentioned this earlier. It's like there's so many nuances to any genre. But I feel like it's cool to see people borrowing from one another and kind of there's almost like a confusion in of like, the musician or the music lover of today. They have so many choices, but there's also a confusion of like, it's like, yeah, it's fusion, but fusion was like jazz and rock, and now it's like, electronic and jazz and rock, and like you could just there's just such a melting pot now
Mhm.
of
Mhm.
of sounds and styles.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Well, I wanted to. I have a story
Oh, sure.
about my dad, Leo Smith. He's a trumpet player, composer.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, Pat Booth.
yes, I just
Yeah.
saw him too. He was in New York, and we celebrated birthday together because his
Oh,
birthday was on
nice.
Sunday, and then my birthday was Thursday.
Yeah, he's great. I saw him briefly when my band went up to the UP, where he lives in Marquette,
Uh huh.
and just was like, oh, like catching up with him, and like, oh yeah, you have a kid now. Like, just
Yes.
it was great.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Definitely, it was so nice to see him. But yeah, I mean, him and I both went to Banff,
Hmm.
creative, what is it called, international forgot the whole title.
Banff
It was
just
a
sounds like
Banff. Yeah, it was a jazz workshop, but it wasn't just jazz. Anyways, so Wadada was teaching, and then but lately I've been fortunate to be playing with Wadada in his golden quintet. But
okay.
one story I wanted to mention is that yeah, like there were a tune that we were working on, and then a lot of the, I don't know if you ever seen his score, but then his score is like a almost like a graphic score. It's very interesting notation. And then but the one tune had chords in it. So I was like, hey Wadada, I can't play like jazz, I can't play like swinging, like I can't play swings and stuff. And then he said, no, I don't want you to. Please don't play jazz. And so he actually hates it if I, like try to play like a jazz things. And then he yells at the drummer and it's like, don't play like a drum, don't play like a jazz drummer. So yeah, it's just an example of I don't think he wants to be called a jazz trumpet player, but yeah, an example of what people call a jazz trumpeter to not want to sound like jazz.
Right.
Yeah, so I mean there's that too.
Yeah. Well, and I've I'm not him in terms of what he's done, but I share a similar sentiment around here. I have a degree in jazz, but I also, play classical, and I've, different projects and bands and stuff. And so it's hard for me to like just say like, oh yeah, I'm a jazz pianist. It's like I am sometimes, and then other times I do like covers in a wedding band, or other times I do original music, or it's I feel like the modern musician has the whatever glove fits, like, okay, use that for marketing, but then there's so many other things you can do underneath that umbrella.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's almost kind of silly to at this point of our time to label anything. I mean, I know it's necessary sometimes, but like for my album that I released recently, it's just we don't know what to call that. Like it's not classical, it's not jazz, it's not electronic, it's not pop, it's who knows what. And I think it was really hard for even like Apple to label it. I think it is under classical though, but yeah, I mean, it depends on the tune. Yeah, it depends on the song. It's a very, very different. So what can we do about it?
Yeah. And it's, I don't know. I appreciate the people who, they keep certain traditions alive, or they're very like this is a very jazz record, or this is a very funk record. And yeah, I'm always learning something from them, but yeah, I agree that it's hard, or it's silly to like look at a musician and like have this kind of tunnel vision of like, all right, I saw them play jazz piano, they're a jazz pianist, and anything else they do, it's just jazz. It's like, yeah, it's like clearly other people do other things. And I think the modern musician kind of has to do like a bunch of different things to exist.
Yeah. And that's kind of almost ridiculous, like sometimes like yeah, it's you got to do everything, and that's, I don't know, that's crazy.
Yeah. So you perform, you teach. Do you have like other music industry skills that you're exploring post-pandemic? Well, post-pandemic, but
Do you mean like engineering or something, or?
yeah, or I guess not even music skills, I guess, because you mentioned yoga too, and I didn't know if you were. I saw you like posts here and there of you leading like virtual sessions. I don't know if you're looking to get certified, or if that's just
Yeah,
like,
I'm
oh.
actually Yeah, I'm certified.
Oh, you are, okay.
Yeah,
See?
have. So yeah, I've been teaching online on Zoom weekly. I stopped for a little bit. I wanted to focus on my album campaign, but yeah, I might start again weekly. I was teaching weekly, so yeah. I mean, as long as I don't, I mean, I still practice a lot and do meditation, and I'm going to yoga training too in end of August, so that's still happening. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I do yoga, but still music is my primary. So I try not to spread myself too thin.
Hmm.
Um, yeah. So I mean, because you know, yoga. If I want to be a teacher, and then that's a whole another career, right? So I don't want to really go to that road either. So I'm trying to balance it out, I guess.
Yeah, I always baby step into yoga, and now I'm baby stepping again with the hope of having it continue. But one thing
Mm,
I've also been having fun with my group Earth Radio. We've been doing these shows at a what's it called, Rake Beer Project. It's like this cool Muskegon, Michigan newer bar that does a lot, they do a lot of sours and stuff. It's hard to say like, oh, it's a Michigan bar, because there's like 8 million Michigan bars. And that's
yeah.
not, it's like, yeah, who cares? That's another bar. But they've had outdoor shows, and then on our show days, they do these kind of community features where they'll invite someone to lead a yoga session. Usually it's our bass player's brother-in-law,
Mm-hmm.
and um and then like a farm stand, a local clothing store, like just some other
Mm-hmm.
person involved selling their wares or interacting with people. And we've been doing these like improvised sets of music as kind of like, we're complementing the yoga, but we're also warming up for our show.
Mm.
And I've really wanted to like see if there are, other spots that would like live music for yoga sessions, or like live ambient texture stuff.
Yeah, I think those two go well really together. Um, yeah, I wish there were more of that too. I think maybe it's maybe more it will come up, you know, in the future. But yeah, I haven't heard too much like stuff like that. I mean, here and there, I hear like a donation class with live music or something. But yeah, that's such a great idea. And it's at a bar, so you can drink and do yoga or something. That's just a really funny combination to me.
Yeah, I always find it funny when like, it's like you think yoga would be enough, and there's so many like like goat yoga and like hot yoga. Is like, okay, it's just hotter yoga, like it's
Yeah.
it's warmer.
Totally. Yeah, the goat yoga thing it makes me laugh. I don't really get it, but why not? I guess.
Yeah, the only thing I kind of got was like, I recently got my first massage, and now I'm like, oh, I need to do this more
You're
often.
hooked. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's like, okay, so the goat's like a mini masseuse for like 5-second intervals if it jumps on your back. But
Ooh, okay.
yeah,
That sounds awesome.
little mini massages.
Yeah, no, goats are cute. I love goats actually. They're like dogs to me.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, they kind of like, I feel like every time I see them, just at a random farm,
Hmm.
they want that attention, or they bump into you, or they just like, they kind of start messing with you like a dog would be, it's
Yeah.
like, what are you doing?
Yeah. They're so cute. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I actually saw, or no, it was on Napalm, the singer for Hiatus Coyote. She has a ring that had a goat, like a fake goat eye, and that's the last time I thought about goats.
Oh wow.
Just like, that's a very distinct ring with
Yeah.
a big square pupil, and
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Wow, dope. Nice.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of you mentioned Righteous Girls, Six Piano. What was there
Grand
was
band.
there's a third thing you mentioned?
Oh, I mentioned about my album tour, and then I
Oh.
mentioned what other too.
Oh, right. Yeah, the
Um,
Golden Quintet.
Quintet. Yeah,
Golden, yeah.
yeah.
Is those have just been, well, I guess, yeah, you worked with him at Banff, and then you're just all in the same spot, and he's like, "Hey, come do a cool project."
Yeah, and mostly because Brad Lindy, do you know him? He's a saxophonist, DC based. He was also
Maybe.
a Banff, and he set up concert of Boda's music, and then yeah, Pat was there. A bunch of us from Banff were there. We played his music together, and then after that, and I actually did some solo piano piece of his. I premiered a solo piano piece that he wrote in the 90s that nobody ever played, and so I played it.
There you go.
And so I worked with him on and off, and then yeah, now I perform with him in his quintet like a few times.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I imagine your schedule is very interesting, having to plan, all the different, like, where do I fit time in to rehearse all this different music, or rehearse in person with groups, or I don't even know, or even like booking too. Like, do you work with someone to do booking, or are you just like you've got it at this point after doing it for however many years?
Not yet, but I am kind of working on getting a booking person right now, like as we speak. Yeah. So we'll see. I might be on my own, or I might be with somebody else.
Yeah,
um,
I'm trying. I mean, I passed off booking for Earth Radio to our bass player,
mhm.
and I'm going to be working on I guess, the social media and promotion end, and doing a lot of, you know, getting better at video editing and content, I guess.
Mm.
Um, I don't know how it's weird saying like getting better at content when like some people just want like literally the bare minute, like, oh, it's someone smiling in a nice kitchen and they're dancing, like, and it's got 50 million views. I'm
Yeah,
like, I have a skill, and they're like, who cares, he's dancing in a kitchen.
yeah, I know. It's such a weird world we live in. Yeah, totally. Yeah,
I'm sure it helps
but
being in New York to have like, it's like, in other places where there might be like, oh, these 5 people really love the stuff I'm doing. But in New York, that's like times 10. Like, okay, 50. Now I can book a small venue or something.
yeah, but at the same
Maybe.
time, then there are more people playing. I mean, you know what I mean? Like there are more
Oh,
performers. So I think
that's
that ratio may be worse. I don't know. Everyone's busy here. So
yeah.
yeah,
That's true. It's
yeah.
I can only, I can only peer through the cities from, I don't know, people that live in them. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting place, but yeah, I mean, I like it here for sure. I mean, that's why I've been here for a decade, more than a decade, actually.
wow.
Yeah,
Yeah. Was that just like a move after school, or you were studying here and just
yeah,
stayed?
studying, yeah, school, Manhattan School of Music. Um,
Mm.
I did undergrad and grad, and MSM, that's what they call, and then I went to Stony Brook University for doctorate. So yeah, stuck around in New York area.
Nice. Do you flex the doctor title anyway?
Nope.
You don't just
I don't
walk
know.
into a room like, I'm a doctor. Don't talk to
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, I don't feel like, I mean, I did what I did, but like I don't feel like I deserve a doctorate. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because like I don't, yeah, I don't know. It's not for me. It's not for me to have it on my name. Yeah.
Yeah, I felt that with my master's, like it's master is such a, like a very powerful designation that I don't, it's like I feel like, yeah, it's like a master is like either, some young prodigy who, just commands all the vocab, or like some seasoned, like, you have to go to a special, mountaintop dojo to learn from the master. I don't know.
I know all those terms are kind of funny and ridiculous. Yeah, master, yeah, and doctor, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I'm not gonna go there, but yeah.
You're a doctor of music.
Yeah, yeah, fix things. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it
Yeah.
all piano study, or was it like you, I don't know, paired different, like, oh, theory or other majors?
Yeah, just piano. Yeah, piano performance. Hmm. Yeah, and the teachers were amazing. Gilbert Kalish and Christian Nadal. I studied with both of them, and they were, yeah, they're great, really amazing. And yeah, it's such an amazing program. I recommend it to anyone.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. I feel like I learned a ton from the people that, Giuseppe Lupus, Jeremy Siskind, Matthew Fries, just, and also I guess Helen Marley. She's the other piano, or not just the other piano instructor, but she taught piano lit, and like, she's an editor for FJH Publishing. So she, you know, was very, very good at teaching people how to teach. And
Uh-huh.
even though I haven't necessarily done that, like taken students, and because that's just not my focus right now. I still know how to communicate a ton better from those classes.
That's amazing. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like that goes a long way. Yeah, and then I feel like not many schools teach you how to teach, but yeah, I mean that's very important.
Yeah, it's weird that it is kind of like you just kind of figure it, like, okay, what did my teacher tell me? Where did I start? Okay, does this work for every student? No, of course not. Otherwise, it teaching would be super easy and everyone would love to do it, because, oh, all kids are the same. I don't need to,
Hmm.
like, individual attention.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's really interesting. And I teach a lot of beginners pianos, and then that's, I mean, I kind of had to figure it out myself, how to do that. And for yoga, for example, you know, in yoga teacher training, you actually learn how to teach. So, I mean, like, why not do that for piano? I mean, I guess they do that in some schools, but I think a lot of places, you know, you go to school for performance. So, I mean, Stony Brook was great because you actually kind of, they do a studio class, and then you kind of get to learn how to teach as well. So that's a little bit different. And but yeah, I mean, I feel like a lot of schools don't focus on that. Maybe I'm wrong, but yeah.
Yeah, and it for me, I feel like the two things that always hang me up are, I get, I like explaining concepts and things, but then my brain's making those connections of like, oh, you're going to learn this and that helps you do that, and then you'll be able to do this, and then when they're barely like, okay, what is the thumb one, or is it, does it start with, is this one?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that, yeah, I know. Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
just
it's
like you're
confusing for kids. Yeah.
right. Yeah, it's like it's like, oh, here's a scale, and they're like, what? And you're like, okay, wait, here's a note. Then we'll
Yeah,
do
I mean,
groupings of notes.
totally. Yeah, I mean, just like, okay, well, do you know the alphabets? That's where you start with. It's like A B C D F G. You don't go to H. You go back to A. That kind of thing. I didn't like know how to, I don't know, teach until I actually started teaching.
Right. Yeah.
Because you don't think about it, you know, when you play, you don't think about, oh yeah, there's no H, but then it's only F to G.
Right. Well, and I always have to remember too, like so much of the stuff that, you know, was the grind of like, okay, just practice these scales a million times and then you'll feel good about it. And I got all that out of the way, you know. I started at 8 and had, you know, 4 or 5 years of like, here are all the basics and here's, you know, Baroque and classical rep and like, you're on your way, kid.
Yeah.
Whereas like some people, you know, I not having students personally, but hearing from all my friends who have students, it's that mix of like, okay, are they interested? Is this babysitting? Is this, you know, like do they like music, but maybe they don't want to learn piano? Like where is this student at?
Yeah, totally. You need to cater to every one of them, and they, yeah, I mean, even they don't want to do piano in the end, it's worth it if they want to, you know, study now, and somehow you're going to be useful one day, you know, and that's all that matters. I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to tell a kid like, hey, I don't want you to in 40 years like find me playing somewhere and be like, I really wish I would have stuck with. It's like, don't become that person. Just keep, you know, do music and then like, yeah, just start there, do music and then it'll be
Totally.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is great. I wish I could chat for a little longer, but I'm just keeping myself busy. So
that's great.
yeah, but I'm sure we'll catch up again on whether it's this podcast or some other time sooner than 4 years.
Yeah, definitely. In person would be wonderful.
Yeah, am really, you know, the 2 years outside of grad school, I was just focused on like, okay, what career, job, what things am I looking for? And now with the pandemic, not over, but over, I'm like, I want to go places. So I definitely need to plan a trip to New York and see all the Bang in a Can folks and go to Smalls at 3 a.m. and
yes.
all the things. Yeah. But where should people, you have a website, where should people find you?
Yeah, I have a website. Yeah, it's erikadohi.com, and I'm on Instagram, Twitter at Erika Dohi, and yeah, I have YouTube. I'm not sure the link for that. I think just Erika Dohi. Yeah.
Well, awesome. Yeah, thanks again. It was great learning more about what you do and all the cool things you're up to in New York.
Yeah, I'm trying. But yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was so nice to chat with you.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to keep an eye out for the new Righteous Girls. That's going to be sweet.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too.
Hey, what's this? Outro dialogue. That's right, I'm trying this out. Thanks so much for listening. This is a great conversation. Erika's such a wonderful person. And I wanted to thank all the patrons that are currently listed, anyone listening out there on all the platforms, and can't wait for the next episode to dive into more things with other pianists. Be sure to share this with folks, and we'll see you next time.